Hi, buddy. It's Jeff here, and doing another one of these videos. And I'm actually sitting in a restaurant. I do have an ice cream cone, so an Italian one, so I'll kind of eat as I go here, because this kind of has these videos. These are kind of just give give thoughts, opinions, stuff. It's just like as if I was walking down the street doing a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live, but those videos are way too big when you're doing your iPhone, so it just gets way too big. So I just want to do it this way. But this one today, I want to do is I hope I don't have any background noise. In a different restaurant, they might have a little bit of background noise. I hope that the sound doesn't conflict the microphone. I'm kind of experimenting with these things as we go. So the other one isn't trained the other day. Um, what I do was answer Sandrine's. She's you posted something about working with subject matter experts, and especially from the interpreter's point of view, a language interpreter's point of view. And I want to address that too. But I want to address a bigger thing that I've been wanting to talk about in the past week, actually, about the difference between. So I'm kind of covering my throat, but I've been eating food and I'm eating my ice cream cone. The difference between subject matter experts and product experts, and I've been discussing with one of my colleagues at work, Jamila. I want to shout out to you because you're just a great colleague, and it's great discussion we have about this. The difference between subject matter experts and solution or product experts of software products, because it's really a different thing. And then this can influence how you work with people and how you do things and how you deal with products, but also from this interpreter's point of view or language translation kind of point of view, it makes a difference too. So I kind of want to address all these because I want to address the overall one, the product one, and all that first. That's what I want to do, and I'll cover this other one, which because I saw it up in LinkedIn, I said, hey, I want to answer this. So the difference. I'll go back and say kind of my background, tell a little bit of the story to explain what a subject matter expert is and what a product expert is, because I'm kind of both, but I do it in different domains and fields because there are some things where I'm really am a subject matter expert, and other things where I'm a product expert or solution expert. I know enough about the field to get myself into trouble and get myself out of trouble. Let's say it that way, and that's some of the truth about this. And then we'll come back to I'll use it for the language stuff. I'll come back and bring it to the language stuff at the end about the interpretation. So I got to cover my ice cream cone. Don't want to have it. No. Um, so um, when I was a language teacher back in the early 1990s, actually 1980s, late 1980s, I was doing university stuff. And I came to France, and I was still doing the university teaching because that's what my job was. But I got jobs actually in business schools, professional language business schools that teach professionals, executives, kind of like myself, what I am now, people like me, but teaching in different fields. And I did that in Lyon, and I did it also in Paris. And that was a great experience. And the funny thing is, how I get the lighting. I'm going to try to get myself to get the light a little bit so you can see not in the chat. And the lighting here is the windows, kind of. The uh, Usually in those kind of schools, you kind of have like two groups of people. Not always, but I'm good in groups. You have those that do group teaching and those that do individual one-on-one lessons, okay? And even in the one-on-one lessons, you can have in person and you can have by phone. And I've actually done all those, and that was back 30 years ago. Now it's kind of normal to do the phone by stuff, but back then it was like really just a few people are doing it. So the group things are all usually group people. You got groups of people. It can be people looking for jobs, trying to get employment. So, they're there in front of employment benefits, and then you get a teaching thing. Or you might have groups of people in certain reasons, kind of groups. You want to group them together so they have similar levels and similar kind of backgrounds as much as you can. It's not always possible. Um, then you have the one-on-one lessons, which a lot of teachers, language teachers, don't like doing because it's a lot more work. Um, because you're doing each lesson is customized. Every single lesson is customized. Whereas when you're doing group things, you can do if you're doing lots of groups, then you can just do the same lesson, to multiple groups. You do the research and the work once, and you apply to all of them. And I had a lot of colleagues that like the group stuff because it is, you do less work. But I really liked the 30 years when I was doing the one-on-one because I was learning all kinds of new fields every day. I was loving it. I was doing my doctorate degree. I was doing my thesis, working on it, and I've also published in a lot of things. At that time, I'd published on different topics too. So I'm just kind of a curious person, anyways. And I've done lots of different. I actually did degrees in different fields, so I'm kind of curious. And so I really just love those one-on-one classes, and especially the phone classes, because then you're by phone, it's even harder because you got to prepare things, send them a fax, and back then was a fax, and then you send them things, and they have to do by phone, and that's even more. It's even more fun. Okay, so I was like the person that was specialized in all that. I could stay at home and do my thesis and just call people, and then I come in a couple days of work and do. And when you're one-on-one, you're usually sometimes they come on site, and then sometimes you go out to their site, kind of hands. But I was literally dealing with back then. I can remember in 1 week I would have a medical doctor on Saturday mornings. He wanted to talk about his topics, so I had to actually prepare for those topics. And he wanted that, and was willing to do it. And then I had I remember I had a pharmaceutical person. I had a person from, I think from Nestle, if I taught, like a secretary, like an executive assistant, or at Nestle, if I can remember. I think it was Nestle. It's come to complain like that. And she had a really, really low level, so she really wanted to get it was very personalized custom training here. Language, just teaching language, but language culture, whatever I call it. Oh, ice cream. So, so, so early, and I would have literally in the same week, I'd be popping around, doing these individual classes, sometimes groups, but a lot of these individual. I remember even one thing like a replica construction of the Eiffel Tower, okay, and having to do a translation of it and work with the person. I mean, that kind of stuff. And I remember actually at the university, I was like translating articles in psychology. And doing, I was literally, just every week, I was learning all these other fields. It was really cool. And that had really allowed me to really focus on being able to adapt to different fields and things. And then I came back to the States and did work in Caterpillar. And I had worked in a bicycle mechanic too, so I had done that already. So I worked in a couple of shops as a bicycle mechanic. So all the processes of building a bike and repairing bikes, which are two different things, helped when I got to get to the machines and had to explain how to, repair the machines and all that kind of stuff. And then went on, I had to go other things and work on different fields. And even through my career, I worked on, I came to a company, work on telecom optimization software, wireless telephone network optimization software. This is fault management, configuration management, and performance management. This is kind of like really very specific. And in that telecom thing, that's when I would say I really became a subject matter expert, because I worked with a subject matter expert who was an expert in the field, coming from Nortel, and he come to work for MyCom. And then we sat down and I wrote all the documentation, but then we created all the marketing documentation together. We created all the explanations for the RFIs, the RFQs, the RFPs, answering the questions of the RFPs, and then going out and doing the testing of the software. I set up the test department, or took over the test department afterwards. Then did all the project management stuff and all the program management with our partner, and then ended up setting up the training, customer and partner training, and doing the training for user, system, and install, for radio frequency engineers, and training them in different countries and different languages. And I went on to do other things too. And then I worked like Sister Anna Reversal, where I'd be providing solutions, translation solutions, to companies in different fields. And like the whole list of them is up on the Sister Anna website. If you want, just go up the websites of these companies and see kinds of things. So you'd be dealing with different customers coming from different fields, and how would I build dictionaries for them, or fit their needs and different. It could be, you know, financial tech. It could be retail. It could be consumer electronics. It could be automotive, aerospace. Okay, and in those kinds of jobs. So unlike the MyCom one, where I had to become a subject matter expert to be able to train these subject matter experts also on the software to use for their job, the other ones where I'm a solution provider in general, you're providing a solution like business analytics right now, all of my business analytics stuff that I do and predictive analytics. You're trying to apply business analytics to any kind of field. So you're not really a subject matter expert. You end up being a product expert to explain. Sorry, the lighting is, I'm trying to get the lighting here. It's trying to get the light so you can see me. You're trying to provide a solution that can be applied to any different field. And then you just help the people in those different fields do the reports. You have to have know enough about the field to, like I said, get yourself into trouble and then get yourself out of it again. So I've kind of played the different roles in those different kinds of companies. And so now I feel that today, doing the same thing as with, I'm gonna take another look at my ice cream cone because to start, yeah, who would be doing like a licking their ice cream cone on a blog? Okay, I'm doing it. That's fine. I got the ice cream cone. And so there are situations like now, like I said, in business analytics or in kind of sometimes you have like I get different things where you're just applying the same knowledge with the same product to different fields. And so it kind of depends on, people will say subject matter expert or expert. Let's say the word expert. And I think this is where the expert is kind of really misused, because being an expert on a product doesn't mean that you're an expert in an industry. You have to know enough about the industry to be able to go talk and sell it. But sometimes people will say that they're expert in the industry or in a field or in a sector, what do you want to call these, or a domain. But you can't go out and make a dictionary of that field, or you can't, sit down and write all the processes down of how that field works and stuff, or that those tasks have to be done in some kind of, field yard or stockyard or something, or in the shop, down on the shop floor or whatever, and just write down exactly how all the things are done. You know enough about it to be able to talk about it, but you don't know, you can't do that and actually document the whole thing from end to end. If specific roles in the whole workflow. So I've been in those different fields and in those different roles and have seen how it's done. Sorry, people cleaning up here, but they get a little bit of background noise. But the thing is that these are different roles and different jobs and how you do it and have to get it. Now, how does this apply? And so this applies to, be careful when you're talking to saying you're working with experts, because there are just different types of experts, and their knowledge, if you got somebody that's kind of just used to solution selling and stuff, and they can cover general things, they'll get just killed in an industry if they go out and have to start having to talk directly to the people on the specific things. They'll just be wiped out. So you got to be careful. Really, experts can be careful to self-pronounce themselves, say I'm an expert in this or something, because they might not be in that field. They might be working general industry or something, but they can't go down to like the aerospace field and start just talking to people directly on how to do, how to be doing the testing and the validation of the electrical harnesses inside of an aircraft when they're setting it up and they're building it. That's kind of, or like robotic, robotic kind of robot implementations on the shop floor. We're dealing with the intelligent Internet of Things and all the different objects and stuff that be brought together in the assembly line and all that kind of stuff. This is like, you got to know what you're doing. So how does this apply now to? So I've kind of explained how that applies in the software field, and people, this is important just for the software end field, because software providers are usually, they're providing a service of a software to an industry that needs to apply it. And so the people from the software company are usually not going to be experts in the specific industry, unless they worked in the industry, which not always happens. I mean, this is not, you can't always, hard to find people that want to leave the buyer client side, then come to the software provider side. That kind of happens, but not always. Kind of depends. Okay. Um, Now, how do we apply this to language and interpretation? And I was already talking about language teaching before. Now, how can we bring it to like language interpretation? And we're doing this and applying this, and how to like Sandrini, we were talking about the concept of working with subject matter experts. Now, when you're doing language interpretation, this is really fun and tough because it depends if you're doing simultaneous translation or if you're doing consecutive translation. Okay. So if you're doing consecutive means one person says, the subject matter expert or the conference talk provider will do one sentence, and then the translator, the interpreter will do the sentence, and it's kind of back, forth, ping pong, a little bit of overlapping, ping pong. That's easier. When you have to do simultaneous, boy, that's tough because you're going to be the interpreter has to be listening to what the person's saying, and then translating it. The interpreter, but translating it and saying it and producing it a sentence later while they're hearing the next sentence and actually processing that to say the next sentence in parallel. And you can do this like together on this on the stage, but usually it kind of happens in with like a cabin or with headphones and stuff. Might not always in the cabin, but with good headphones you can do it. And then you're talking to the microphone at the same time you're listening to this. The sentence is like you're always one sentence behind pronouncing it. That's tough. Okay, I've done it. I'm not really great at it, but I can do it. But you got to train yourself. And now usually when you're working with subject matter experts on this kind of thing and I've done it when I've been at the government conferences. I've given a lot of conference talks, and what I will do is when I go give a conference talk on a certain topic, I will always come with a list, kind of a list of vocabulary items of kind of the key words that I will say during that talk. Some of the key words that especially might be unfamiliar to the person that's going to be doing the interpretation for me. And then I will provide translations of those into one or more languages because I want them to have the vocabulary rather than have to do the research on it. I will give them what it is. And I'll give them in one or more languages. Sorry, I get the background noise, but and I'll get in one or more languages, especially if the conference is going to be only one or more language. I'll do it and train them in that and stuff. And then we'll go ahead and then they'll do it. Now, and that's been done pretty well, and I've done it a couple times, a number of times. Now, one time I got invited to come to went to go to the University of Gdańsk in Poland, and there were going to be Hungarian, Czech, Polish. Off the top of my head, those are the kind of three main languages. They had people in the cabins doing the translation, interpretation. And I came and I think I gave a list of some of the keywords I thought I was going to use, but I was changing my PowerPoint constantly up to like the morning of because I was really trying to find what I wanted to say. It wasn't like this. It wasn't the set thing. It was a brand new thing, completely new. I had never talked about it yet. And I was kind of finding the way I wanted to present this. And then the morning, the timekeeping of the conference just was bad. It was really bad to the point where everyone went over behind me. And my talk was right before lunch. And so like we get to my talk and there's only 20 minutes left before lunchtime. And the food's all coming in with, the caterer and all this stuff. And I'm supposed to give a 45-minute talk. And I started at the talk saying, you're all hungry, I'm all hungry. You can hear it, you can watch it. And I said, hey, I'm hungry, you're hungry. I'll do this twice as fast so we can all go to lunch. Everybody's clapping. The only people that were not clapping were the interpreters that were in those cabins because they're going, WTF. I'm not kidding. And I did do it in 23 minutes. And you can watch that talk. And if you want to have a challenge, go to my University of Gdańsk talk on my YouTube channel and try to do simultaneous interpretation of that one. That is a major challenge because I'm just because I got to do this 45-minute talk in 20 minutes, okay? To satisfy my customers in the audience that want to go to lunch. And so this is where working with subject matter experts really matters because what you want to do as an interpreter and even as a translator, and I've actually done this with some of the people I've done translation for. I would build a dictionary like in 15 minutes and sit down with some of the person I said that trained me, MyCom, I said, okay, this one, because you want this stuff, I'm going to sit down. I want you for 15 minutes. I just started circling technical terms all over the paper that he had. And I said, I want to know how you say this in French. I want to know how you say that we're going to say this in French. Bam. I built a dictionary in 45 minutes, ran it through the machine translation system, and then I let him clean it up. And he said, oh, just a little bit of work afterwards done. He sent out an RFI or an RFQ. Bam, he just sent out. He was happy. And this is how you have to work. And the same thing applies to text as you do to speaking. You have to sit down and say, okay, what are all these technical terms, technical vocabulary, jargon? What do you want to call these things? Identify them, and then provide translations of them, and then make those available to the interpreters, or let the interpreters do the research to get the words. But it helps if you already know what it is, if you're bilingual, or you can have somebody do it. Provide them multilingual, then give it to the interpreters or the translators, because in the translation you have the same thing, especially with machine translation. Machine translation will get it wrong. So you want to do is go ahead and provide that up front if you can. Then the quality will be so much faster, and they'll be able to say the stuff. They won't have to be looking it up. They'll know what it is. They just have to review the list and get an idea of what this is when it comes up. And if it's in the order, if you got the order of it, don't put them in alphabetical order. Or provide an alphabetical order list, and then provide a list where they come in your talk, because that helps them. Because when they're going through, they're not trying to jump all the way up and down trying to find the thing. As you're going down to the talk, hey, if you're even better, tell them what section it's in. That even better. But give it to them in a kind of a chronological order so they can actually use it as they're going along, and when they're expecting it to kind of arrive, because they're going to just look at the translated term and use that. But these are kind of some examples of what is subject matter expert versus what is a product expert or solution expert. And then how do you deal with them in the context of translation and interpretation? Especially interpretation is really tough. Subtitling too goes along with it. Monolingual subtitling plays a part, because you'll have to be when you got the transcriptionist behind you doing the rewording, or they're doing the restating. They will be cleaning up the things. If it's already been spit out by a speech to text system, then they want to clean it up, and they get to clean up either revoicing it, re-saying the words of the jargon and repronouncing it, or they need to be transcribing with using some kind of transcriptionist kind of shorthand, or they need to be typing it out, or whatever, phonetic alphabets. There are different ways to do this, but they're going to need that vocabulary. And if they don't know, if they're not subject matter experts on the topic, it's really tough. So, and they know the vocabulary, the names of people, whatever. You got to give them lists of things. People's names too. Always give them people's names full spelled out, because they'll need to have this. Product names, project names, all these acronyms. Acronyms too. Anything's called a named entity. Anything is a named entity is the really important thing for anyone doing interpretation translation. Named entities kill you. Person, place, or thing. And company names, people's names, project names, anything like that. And especially stuff and branded names and all that kind of stuff. This is key. So that's kind of the things my suggestions, and that's how I go. That's this experience of working with subject matter experts, being a subject matter expert in different fields, and all the challenges that kind of go along with that. And thanks for listening while I've been eating my ice cream cone. Have a good day.